So sometimes we keep our sim books in here, but they can always float around. So always check those side drawers. They're usually in one of these two, and I think we only have 2 books. Okay. So your instructor, your lead instructor for clinicals, makes out the simulation schedule, and we all follow it. And I think mine is, or Mallory's is still here. This should be found on Schoology, but we usually leave a printout here. The only thing is we need to write which one is quarter 2 and quarter 3. I'm pretty sure that's quarter 2 because that doesn't look like any of what I've done. So yeah, this one says quarter 3 here. So we'll make sure to write this one quarter 2. So your first day of sim, you're going to follow these 2 scenarios. Asthma Attack Chapter 13. So if you go into this book, either one of these books should have all of the chapters here, 1 through 12. So we'll go to Chapter 3. And it gives you all this information of how to set up the sim, why it's important to do the sim, yada, yada, yada. So usually what I do in the morning or the day before, if I have time, is look at all my medications and look at my room setup, so that this is where I start. So I'll make a bet if I don't have 0.9 saline, like, let's see if this one is. So for example, this bag looks like it was 0.9 saline. This is one of my stickers. I try to make it as real, as high fidelity as possible. So if I don't have a bag, I'll write whatever the order is and put it on there. Sometimes the scenario says to have the wrong bag up just so that your students can catch it, right? Or if it's at a different flow rate or something. So just read what your room setup says if you're supposed to have a wrong med hanging. And then just follow for everything else. For like if there's a Foley, we can actually insert the Foleys appropriately, and sometimes it says to hang it on the floor, hang it on the bed, whatever. So just follow this for the most part. And then our meds are all here. We have more like fake doses in our room over there, but for the most part we have done sim so many times you can find the ones here. So I will take usually the provider's orders and I'll go through here and make sure I have all of my meds. So like this one isn't prednisone, has prednisone, but hey, we shouldn't just put the ones that they have, right? So sometimes I'll put extra so they have to work through and see which ones they need. But just make all your meds. In here there's some drawers with meds and stuff as well, like here's atenolol, solumedrol. So I look around, I pull around and make my pick 6 essentially. One thing I do to make it easier for me and harder for the students is I have asthma in the morning and COPD in the evening. So I'll take both the COPD and asthma sheets, orders, and I'll just pull all the meds for everything and just have them all mixed up here. So for one scenario, they don't need them. They don't need half of the meds, but they will for the other, and then I'm not making up a bunch of random meds. I'm actually going to use them next time. So that's what I do. I tend to put anything on this cart that they may need or things that they would find in a supply room. So dressing change, extra nasal cannula, masks, that kind of stuff, just so that it's not always right there on the side of the bed and I'm handing it to them, or they're like, oh, this is here, I must use it. They have to make that critical choice and think through what is it that I need to do whatever it is that I need to do for my patient. So then if we go to day 2, then it's the same thing here. There's 2 different scenarios and should be for each 3 days. So everyone does their simulations differently, but for the most part, each student needs to go through both simulation. With 10 students, I have split them up in groups of 5. In the morning, had group 1 go through this for about 45 minutes. debrief for 15, and then we switch. And the other students that are not actively in that simulation with me can go over to this mannequin and see, hey, write up what abnormal findings you found, like write up a head to toe assessment for me, and then we'll talk about it and see if you missed anything and if they have any idea of what's going wrong with the patient. But I'm not actively over there making the mannequin do different things or say anything. So I usually have them do that, and then they can go write up their head to toe and then work on like their clinical packet. Okay, I think. These are extra providers orders that are usually matching our scenarios, and maybe we need to go and make some extra copies. But if I was doing like heart failure, anyways, if I was doing heart failure, I usually give report, here it is, due to chapter 6. I give report to my students, which I'll just read this to them. I don't let them have this, so they practice taking notes. And then I'll say something like, oh yeah, the morning orders just got faxed over, and then I'll give them a copy of this for reference. There have been some things that we've changed from like IV to Q to oral or something, just to make sure that they're not practicing anything here that they can't practice in real life. Just make it as high fidelity as possible and as real as possible. But that's up to you how you want to do that. Some of these orders are wrong, and they're wrong on purpose, like they don't have a dosage or they're missing a route, and see if your students catch that. So the only thing that I give them is their order sheet, and I have to take notes on everything else. So then they come in, and then as they go and do their assessment on the patient, I am the voice of the patient. I do not answer any questions other than if I was the patient. And I tell them that before they walk in the door. I am not your instructor past the store. I am going to only play the patient. However, I do tell them I will stop for safety. If there's a safety issue that needs to be taught, at that moment, I personally just say the simulation is pausing, and then I step out of that role. Or if there's a really good teaching moment and something that I feel like I don't want to slip by at that moment, and I don't want to wait till debrief, I'll go ahead and, hey, we're pausing sim because I need to teach about this thing. That's how I do it. I like to let the students work through it by themselves or together, but without me, and fall if they need to, right? This is a place for them to fall, and fail and kill their patient if possible. So that's how I do it.